Hello folks, in this session we are going to see how to create dynamic groups using Azure Active Directory. So what is the need of a group? Using groups, the admin can control access to a collection of users. So what happens in your organization? Let's say there is a team designated to carry database activities and there is a team designated to carry application engineering activities. So in this case, what happens? The admin creates two groups, one called as DBA administrator, one called as application engineer. So based on their corresponding role, the respective users will be added to any of these groups. So whatever the permission that has been granted to these groups will be automatically granted to the respective users that are added under these groups. Okay, so let me go to Azure Active Directory and show you how to create these dynamic groups. So when I go to the Azure Active Directory, I select the groups, then I click on new group. So if you see in this options, you see membership type as assigned and dynamic. I'm going to show you now how we are going to create a dynamic group. To see how to create a normal assigned group, you can refer to my other video. I'll be giving the link to that video in my description. So I'm going to create this group type as security. And also if you see in the group type, you have option as security and Microsoft 365. So this Microsoft 365 is a mail enabled group, which will allow the collaboration activities like sharing their calendars and other mail related activities. So in this case, we select security and I'm going to give the group name as uh, database DBA, okay, database administrator, database administrator. Okay, so I'm going to select the membership as dynamic user. Yeah, so when I select this dynamic user, this dynamic query gets enabled. So I have to click this add dynamic query, and in this we add an expression to say that how the users should get dynamically added to this group. So that's the main idea here. I'm going to click on this add expression and I'm going to say this. I'm going to give a property. Uh, whenever a user gets onboarded into the company and whenever he's to be added into the Azure Active Directory, there are different types of data that gets entered for him, like which department he works for, what is his job title. So based on that, we can set our rules here. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to say that whenever a user is getting onboarded into the company with job title DBA, yeah, sorry, here I'm should select equal, yeah. So whenever an employee gets onboarded into the company with the designation DBA, I want this to be added to part of this particular group. So I've added the expression here. So it says that if job title equals to DBA, then this particular user should be part of this particular group. That's what this dynamic rule says here. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to create this group. So the group has got created. Let me refresh and see this. Yeah, it will take a few seconds to get created because every time we do some action, Azure executes the script in the backend to get that activated. So just trying to refresh. Let me go to this Active Directory again, and let me click on this groups again. Yeah, so we can see this group. So if I click on this group, right, we'll be able to see the dynamic membership rule which we created here. Yeah, as we created, it says that if the job title equals to DBA, then the users will get added to this group. Let me show how it is done. So now I'm going to my Active Directory homepage. I'm going to create users. Let's say two new users joins this company. So both of those two users are actually database administrators. So I'm going to add those two new, so the admin is going to add those two new users as part of this Active Directory. Create new user. Just for demo purpose, I'm just giving us user one, user one. So you can select anything. I'm going to give, let me create password here. So I'm giving this initial password. Okay, so I think we gave the expression in the dynamic rule something like the job title is equal to DBA, then those users should be added as part of the DB administrators group, isn't it? So I'm going to give this job title as DBA here. So let's say I'm going to give this department IT and I'm going to create this user. Yeah, let me create one more user. I'm just going to name this as user 2. User 2. So that's fine, doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave it as auto generate password. Again, this is very important, right? So the rule has been written as if the job title is DBA, then those users must be added to be part of that particular database administrator group. So I'm giving this role as DBA. So company name, department, you're going to give whatever it is. Just create this. Okay. So now what I have done, first I had created a group as database administrator. I created a dynamic rule to say that if the job title of the user is equal to DBA, those users must be added to be part of that group. So after that, I have created two users, user 1, user 2, and their job titles are DBA. Let me refresh to see if the users have been created. Yes, they have been created. So now as per the dynamic rule return, these users should get added to that group, isn't it? Let's check that. I'm going to the groups. I'm going to this database administrator, and I'm going to see under members if I can find user 1 and user 2. Okay, that's good. User 1 has been already added. As I said, it takes some time for Azure to execute this script in the backend. So the action is done. So let me just refresh. Yeah, let's give it a few seconds, please. Or what I normally do, I just go to the home page and I try to come back to this group again. Yeah, coming to the members. Okay, still it has got only one user, only one user. Let me see why it is taking this much time. Okay. Okay, so if you see here in user 1, I didn't add this user to be part of this group. It has been taken care dynamically. So likewise, we will be able to configure multiple number of groups, with dynamic property. So what happens whenever the user gets onboarded, right? Based on their job titles or based on their country, based on the state, like whatever the condition we give in the dynamic expression, based on that, the users can be added to the group directly. So this eases the work of the administrator, and also it makes sure that it is done correctly, because otherwise every time the admin has to do it manually, that there can be some manual errors introduced. So by doing this, those can be avoided, right? Right. Okay. So let me just go back and see if the user 2 also has been added. Just want to refresh. Yeah. So user 2 has been added. So that's how we create dynamic groups, write dynamic expressions, and add users to the group dynamically. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this quick demo. Thank you guys.